The General Assembly will resume its consideration of Agenda Item 15, Culture of Peace, to take action on the draft resolution issued as document A/65/L5. Members will recall that at its 32nd and 33rd plenary meetings on the 18th of October 2010, the Assembly considered in a joint debate Agenda Item 14, Global Agenda for Dialogue and Civilizations, and Agenda Item 15. I will now give the floor to His Royal Highness Prince Ghazi bin Mohammed, Personal Envoy and Special Advisor to His Majesty the King of Jordan, to introduce draft resolution A/65/L5.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Mr. President, I have the honor to introduce, on behalf of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the 27 other co-sponsors, Albania, Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Egypt, El Salvador, Georgia, Guatemala, Guyana, Honduras, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Liberia, Mauritius, Morocco, Oman, Paraguay, Qatar, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, Tanzania, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, Uruguay, and Yemen, the draft resolution A/65/L5 entitled the World Interfaith Harmony Week. Allow me to explain in brief the reasoning behind this resolution, which was launched by His Majesty King Abdullah II bin al-Hussein before the United Nations General Assembly on September the 23rd, 2010. As this august assembly is well aware, our world is rife with religious tension and, sadly, mistrust, dislike, and hatred. These religious tensions can easily erupt into communal violence. They also facilitate the demonizing of the other, which in turn predisposes public opinion to support war against peoples of other religions. Thus, for example, according to the results of the 2008 Gallup poll, one of the largest international religious surveys in history, 53% of Westerners have unfavorable or very unfavorable opinions of Muslims, and 30% of Muslims polled worldwide hold negative views of Christians. The misuse or abuse of religions can thus be a cause of world strife, whereas religions should be a great foundation for facilitating world peace. The remedy for this problem can only come from the world's religions themselves. Religions must be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Much good work has already been done towards this, starting really with the Second Vatican Council from 1962 to 1965, by hundreds of intrafaith and interfaith groups all over the world and of all religions. Yet the forces inciting interreligious tensions, notable among them being religious fundamentalisms of various kinds, are better organized, more experienced, better coordinated, more motivated, and more ruthless. They have more stratagems, more institutes, more money, more power, and garner more publicity, such that they by far outweigh all the positive work done by the various religious interfaith initiatives. The sad proof of this is that religious tensions are on the rise, not on the decline. Mr. President, the present draft resolution seeks to turn the tide against this negative movement by 1. coordinating and uniting the efforts of all the interfaith groups doing positive work with one focused theme at one specific time annually, thereby increasing their collective momentum and eliminating redundancy. 2, harnessing and utilizing the collective might of the world's second largest infrastructure, that of places of worship, the largest being that of education, specifically for peace and harmony in the world, inserting, as it were, the right software into the world's religious hardware. 3, permanently and regularly encouraging the silent majority of preachers to declare themselves for peace and harmony and providing a ready-made vehicle for them to do so. Moreover, if preachers and teachers commit themselves on the record once a year to peace and harmony, this means that when the next interreligious crisis or provocation occurs, they cannot then relapse into parochial fear and mistrust and will be more likely to resist the winds of popular demagoguery. Mr. President, turning to the text itself, allow me to explain some of its most essential terminology and concepts. 1. In the very title of the resolution and in the second operative paragraph and elsewhere, the word harmony is used in the Chinese sense of the term. We add it to the term tolerance, which we have also used, because tolerance can suggest that the other is so negative that they have to be tolerated. We cannot use acceptance because it implies that religions accept each other's doctrines rather than their right to those doctrines, and this is not the case. We cannot use the term peace alone because it suggests merely the absence of war and not necessarily the absence of hatred. Only the Confucian concept of harmony can rescue us here because it suggests not merely peace, but also beautiful and dynamic interaction between different elements within a whole. 2. In the third operative paragraph, there is mention of love of God and love of the neighbor, or love of the good and love of the neighbor. Why is this religious reference necessary in a UN resolution? In answer to this question, it will be noted first that this draft resolution is unique because it is specifically about peace between religions and not about anything else. Therefore, some religious references in this particular case is only natural. To rigidly maintain the contrary would be to disregard the feelings of 85% of the world's population which belongs to one or another faith. Second, and more importantly perhaps, we include these references because whilst we all agree that it is clearly not the business of the UN to engage in theology, it is nevertheless the primary goal of the UN to make and safeguard peace, and without the specific mention of God and of the two commandments of love, many, if not most devout Muslims, Christians, and Jews will consider a secular call for an Interfaith Harmony Week a mere feckless platitude that they cannot fully or sincerely support. For in the Holy Bible, Jesus Christ, alayhi salam, said, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word of God," and also that, "Hallowed be thy name." And similar meanings are to be found in the Holy Quran, wherein it is stated that no act is rewarded save for seeking the countenance of the Lord the Most High, and that, verily the remembrance of God is of all things the greatest. In other words, for many Muslims, Christians, and Jews, who together make up perhaps 55% of the world's population, and I regret to say, are involved in most of the world's conflicts, it is necessary to mention the substance of their faiths. Otherwise, hoping to foster peace between religions by foisting upon them an external and purely secular and bureaucratic language is simply a house divided against itself, which shall not stand. Third, it will be noted that this language excludes no one of any religion or of no faith at all. Every person of goodwill with or without faith, can and should commit to love of the neighbor and love of God, or love of the neighbor and love of the good. Loving the neighbor and the good is, after all, the essence of goodwill. And referring to the good obviously does not necessarily imply belief in God or in a particular religion, even though for many believers, the good is God precisely. Jesus Christ, ﷺ, said, "No one is good but God alone." And the good, al-Bar, is one of God's names in the Holy Quran. Thus, speaking of the good is a theologically correct but inclusive formula insofar as it goes, that unites all humanity and leaves out no one. Fourth, there is another reason why it is specifically necessary to mention love of the neighbor. It sets an invaluable practical standard based upon which people can ask themselves and each other if their actions stem from caritas, love towards the neighbor or not. Indeed, as the Prophet Mohammed ﷺ said, "None of you has faith until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself." 3. Also in the third operative paragraph, the phrase "on a voluntary basis" is used because the entire proposal must be purely voluntary. No place of worship should be forced to observe the World Interfaith Harmony Week. For whilst we hope to encourage interfaith harmony, the last thing we want is for anyone at all to feel that anything is being imposed upon his or her faith, beliefs, or convictions. Nevertheless, one can conceive of positive incentives to encourage and help support and monitor the implementation of this resolution. 4. Finally, also in the third operative paragraph, the phrase "each according to their own religious traditions or convictions" is vital because the different religions do not necessarily interpret love of God and the neighbor in exactly the same way and do not want it said that they do. This phrase thus avoids the dangers of syncretism or reductionism and allows for religious differences within the same goal of working towards interreligious peace and harmony. In summary then, I very humbly ask the member states of the United Nations General Assembly to adopt the proposed draft resolution for the World Interfaith Harmony Week, noting that it excludes no individual, compromises no one, commits no one, forces no one, harms no one, costs nothing, and on the contrary, includes everyone, celebrates everyone, benefits everyone, unites everyone, and has the potential to bring much needed peace and harmony to the entire world, inshallah. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the personal envoy and special advisor to His Majesty, the King of Jordan. Before moving on with the adoption of this resolution, I would like to announce that Suriname, my country, would like to be enshrined as one of the co-sponsors as this resolution as well. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution One minute, please.
تبنيه لمشروع القرار ويتقدم بالشكر الجزير لوفد الأردن لما بذله من مجهود.
I'd like to thank the delegation of Jordan for its efforts, and we'd like to support this draft resolution. We would like to join those delegations which have supported this draft resolution.
Point taken. Thank you very much. The Assembly will now take a decision on draft resolution A65L5 entitled World Interfaith Harmony Week. On a point of order, which country is it? Indonesia. Tunisia. You have the floor.
شكرا سيد الرئيس وفد بلادي يود أن
Thank you, Mr. President. My delegation would also like to join the list of states supporting this draft resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's noted. Let us now take a decision on draft resolution A65L5 entitled World Interfaith Harmony Week. May I take it that the Assembly decides to adopt draft resolution A/65/L5? It is so decided. Before giving the floor to the speakers in explanation of vote, may I remind delegations that explanation of vote are limited to 10 minutes and should be made by delegations from their seats. I will now extend the floor to the representative of Belgium, who will speak on behalf of the European Union.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the European Union on the resolution entitled World Interfaith Harmony Week that was just adopted. The European Union would like to extend its thanks to the delegation of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan for the constructive spirit in which it has led the consultation process on this resolution, as well as for its readiness to incorporate in the resolution a number of suggestions put forward by the EU. The European Union welcomes any call for dialogue, peace, tolerance, and mutual understanding among people and nations. It is in this spirit that the European Union has joined consensus on the resolution, based on the following understanding of some fundamental issues raised in the resolution. Mr. Chairman, it is an established fact that religions, beliefs, and faith cannot be considered actors under international law. Therefore, the European Union has joined consensus in the understanding that dialogue amongst religion, faith, and beliefs in PP2 and OP1 refers to dialogue among individuals with different religions, faith, and beliefs. As in other areas, any obligation of states with regard to religious affairs does not exist vis-à-vis any religion, faith, or belief as such, but solely towards individuals or group of individuals, and in full respect for both the individual's freedom of religion or belief and the independence of religious institutions in matters of belief. The European Union is therefore of the view that PP4 and OP3 cannot be read as giving states a mandate to influence the manner in which individuals relate to their faith or beliefs, or to impose their views on the substance or manner of any interreligious or intra-religious discourse. Furthermore, some European Union member states have regulations and policies whereby the state is strictly separated from any religion. Therefore, we do not feel compelled to intervene in religious discourses in places of worship. However, the European Union fully subscribes to the wish expressed in the resolution for respect and understanding between followers of all religions, faith, and beliefs. Mr. Chairman, while acknowledging the importance of interreligious dialogue, the EU wishes to state that both interreligious and intra-religious dialogue are additional and complementary components of intercultural dialogue and a culture of peace. Religion or faith may constitute part of the multiple identities of individuals, but it is our understanding that by solely addressing one of the sources of identity, the resolution does not wish to imply a lesser importance of the others. In this respect, the European Union would like to highlight the role of UNESCO in promoting all aspects of intercultural dialogue, as well as of the UN Alliance of Civilization in promoting understanding and cooperative relations among nations and peoples across cultures and religions. Finally, Mr. Chairman, the European Union wishes to state its understanding that the call for interfaith harmony expressed in the resolution and for dialogue among religions, faith and beliefs in PP2 and OP1 is not limited to specific, for instance, monoistic religions or beliefs, but is in fact meant to include all followers of any religion, faith or belief in a universal and inclusive manner. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I thank the representative of Belgium on behalf of the European Union for his statement. Can I now give the floor to Norway?
Thank you, Mr. President. Norway would like to thank Jordan for the manner in which it has conducted the negotiations up to their successful conclusion today. Norway welcomes this important initiative as we recognize the importance of peaceful coexistence between individuals of different religions and faiths, and the importance of interreligious dialogue in order to promote peace and understanding. For the record, we would like to add that we fully subscribe to the understanding just provided by the representative of the EU of some of the fundamental issues raised in the resolution. I thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of Norway. We have heard the last speaker on explanation of vote. I will now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Jordan on a point of order.
Mr. President, forgive me for taking the floor again, but I wish only to thank the delegations, and in particular the now 29 co-sponsors, for the constructive spirit in which they engaged with us throughout the process of negotiations. In this context, we would like to assure the European Union that we agree with the fine distinctions they presented in their explanation after the vote, and we are grateful to them for their support and contribution. Thank you again, Mr. President.
Very much, Jordan. I will now give the floor to Turkey to address the floor as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. We welcome the adoption of the draft resolution about the World Interfaith Harmony Week, and the initiative undertaken by Jordan. On this occasion, I would like to extend a warm welcome to His Royal Highness Prince Ghazi bin Mohammed and thank Jordan for introducing this noble initiative. We are honored to be co-sponsor of this resolution and pleased to see that it embraced by the wider membership. This shows commitment of the world community to making the world more peaceful and harmonious for future generations. We believe that this call for peace, tolerance, and mutual understanding will further contribute to the promotion of a global culture of peace around the world. For its part, Turkey will continue its efforts to promote our common values of peace, tolerance, and respect for humanity. Thank you.
Ambassador of Turkey and Permanent Representative, I will now give the floor to the Holy See, so observer, to speak on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my delegation takes this opportunity to thank the delegation of Jordan for having brought forward a resolution on promoting goodwill among religions in order to advance a culture of peace. For several years now, the United Nations has taken up consideration of this agenda item. Over 10 years ago, member states adopted the Declaration and Program of Action on a Culture of Peace, and not long thereafter adopted the first resolution on promotion of religious and cultural understanding, harmony, and cooperation. The creation of a culture of peace among the peoples of the world is not a task to be taken lightly. All persons have a responsibility each and every day to promote peace tolerance, and mutual respect among all persons of the various religious traditions. Setting aside a week in the coming year for the purpose of raising consciousness regarding our common commitment in this regard certainly highlights the importance of this responsibility and can be instrumental in concretely translating love of God into love of neighbor, which means not only those of our own religious tradition, but each and every person, because everyone has dignity and value. Mr. President, my delegation commends the manner in which the mission of Jordan carried out consultations regarding the present resolution. Some of my delegation's proposals were taken into consideration. At the same time, however, my delegation hoped that the resolution should have focused more on the importance of dialogue among religions at the institutional and authoritative level. In this regard, for example, one thinks of the various formal responses to a common word between us and you, including the Catholic Muslim Forum, which is an ongoing initiative in which many scholars of both religions have been meeting on a regular basis to advance interreligious dialogue. Moreover, the resolution does not express clearly the difference between faith at a personal level and religion at a more institutional level. In this sense, my delegation would have liked the title of the resolution changed from World Interfaith Harmony Week to Worldwide Week of Interreligious Dialogue, Understanding, or Worldwide Week of Interreligious and Interfaith Dialogue. So also, my delegation would have preferred the word interreligious in the text instead of interfaith, and the misleading word harmony replaced with dialogue, respect, or tolerance. Mr. President, respect for religious and cultural diversity in an increasingly globalized world contributes to international cooperation and promotes enhanced dialogue among religions and persons. On the occasion of the adoption of the text before us, my delegation takes this opportunity to reaffirm its ongoing commitment to promoting mutual understanding, respect, dialogue, and collaboration between Catholics and the followers of all other religious traditions. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the Holy See for